Welcome to the Right Fight Podcast, a discussion about how to live a loving life. I'm Reg Lloyd, and we're having a conversation with Kenny Vaughn. Kenny, we're talking about the 7 things that love is, and today we look at number 5, that love trusts others. And honestly, I know I was thinking number 4 was going to be the most difficult one for you, but I'm interested to hear how you navigate through this heavy topic, because you write, if we love, we trust, and if we don't trust, we don't love. Where do you want to take us from here?
I know that's really hard. And just writing that chapter in the book kind of forced me to dig deeper, because I think I had, and I think a lot of times we have a broken understanding of what trust is. So we think that I trust you means that that you're going to do what I expect you to do, the way I expect you to do it, and that if you don't, the problem was that I trusted you and I shouldn't have trusted you. And I think within that, I want to try to unpack this a little bit. But I think within that is where the breakdown comes. So make this simple statement: if you trust someone, so let's just say you trust your spouse, and they're unfaithful to you. That's one of the biggest, right? The question we need to ask ourselves is, because our first thought is the problem is that we trusted them, so we're not gonna trust them anymore. But I think the truth is not that trusting them was the problem. The problem was that they failed to love you. That they failed to remain faithful. So but because I believe it was that I trusted you and you were unfaithful, that I shouldn't have trusted you, so now I'm not going to trust you anymore. So then I think that by not trusting you, somehow you become faithful. And whenever the trust is never the problem, I don't believe. I mean, I don't think that trust is the problem. The problem, there's another problem that exists, and then because of the other problem, it's like love. I mean, love, trust. It's like I love someone, they hurt me. I think that the love hurt me. Well, love didn't hurt me. And sometimes loving, period, gets us hurt, but it's not the love that does the hurting. It's the unfaithfulness or the selfishness or someone else's foolishness that does this. So then we get this mindset, okay, because I believe that the problem was my trust, then I think that I'm not going to trust, and that me not trusting is somehow going to make this relationship better or grow love stronger in our lives. But instead, the exact opposite happens. You know, when we stop trusting, then we become envious. You know, we become prideful. We slowly become all these other 8 things that love is not. So even if this person truly repented and has changed, and what the world calls trustworthy was what we call it, as if anybody's really totally trustworthy, even if they actually change and they become more loving, they actually solve the problem that really existed. But I no longer trust. I'm the new problem. And now I'm going to slowly unravel this relationship regardless of what they attempt to do to resolve it. So then you go, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Just keep trusting, what I'm calling trusting. Okay, I'm going to trust you again. I'm going to trust you again, and I'm just going to be okay with you just cheating on me or being unfaithful or whatever it is that you're doing forever. Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, that would be a failure to love. If I believe that you've truly repented and you've truly changed, then I have to make a decision to trust you again. If I don't believe that you've truly repented or you truly changed, I need to trust the truth for your sake. So I'm not, so in other words, man, I hope this can make sense, but I'm not loving you by saying I'm going to choose to trust you when I know you haven't changed. I'm just trying to give myself a free ride. you know what, I'm just done with it. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just going to try again and see what happens. And I'm seeing what's happening. I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm realizing that nothing has changed. I'm realizing you're not doing anything different, but I'm just going to trust you because it lets me off the hook somehow from having to actually love you. Well, if I love you, I'm coming to you because I trust the truth for what I see, so I come to you and I say, hey, you know what? Not out of envy and all these other things, but because I love you. You said that, but I see this. Can you help me understand? And within that, more truth is revealed. So I don't think that we just blindly trust, but we must trust. And I think that we have to. So let me try to throw an example in here that it's not relationship related. So I was on a phone call today, and we've had, we have Shells of Strength, we make jewelry. One of the most businesses struggles, the biggest struggles for sure ours, is online and social marketing. Like marketing is the hardest thing I've ever done in any business. It has been for 30 years. Every form of business, marketing is virtually impossible. It's so difficult. But if you ever get something right, it works really well. So we've worked with, one after another marketing agencies that I don't know if I should say promise, but they suggest enough that we'll give a lot of money every month thinking this can actually happen. And then if you watch it, you start realizing nothing is really happening and you're pouring this money into a black hole. So I often tell people, the fastest way you can sink a good ship, I'm getting myself in trouble, but it is with marketing or a lawsuit. Like either one of those take your ship down, a really good ship too, take them down in a hurry. And so in our case, we've gone through several and a few in the last year, and we're talking to a new one today, and I don't trust them anymore. Okay, like my feelings don't trust them anymore. Like there's nothing I haven't heard yet. I've had so many conference calls. I've met with so many different agencies, and everybody's got a song and a dance and all this stuff, But I'm talking to one today, and my mindset is I don't trust anything these people say, right? But here's what happens when we do that. I'm already seeing everything through my fear. And this filter of fear is distorting everything that I'm seeing. And so if I'm actually looking at finally finding the real solution, finally finding the right person, finally finding someone, that actually is going to attempt to love me, even if they don't do it perfectly, all these things. If I'm coming to this through my lens of fear, I'm going to destroy it before it ever gets off the ground. And that's what a failure to trust will do. So what do? So what I have to do is I listen, and I pay attention, but I have to choose to trust this guy. I don't know him, never met him before. I'm going to choose to trust him. Now, that doesn't mean if he says or does something that clearly doesn't make sense to me, that I'm not going to question it. If he says or does something clearly to me, I'm going to ask him why. By asking questions, people, when you ask why and you dig in deeper, what happens is people will reveal to you if they really know what they're talking about or they don't. So and through that you can gain more trust. I would say this many times, and hopefully this will make sense to you, but if a lot of times in life we have to make decisions about situations or things or marketing that we know very little about. And we're talking to someone who's supposed to know everything about it. Our job, our responsibility is to figure out who really does know and who doesn't. That's where I'm not so great at that sometimes, But one thing I have learned is that if someone who supposedly is an expert in a field or knows a lot about marketing, knows a lot about everything, their thing, whatever their expertise is, that I don't know a whole lot about, if they really know a lot about it and I ask them questions, they can answer them in a way that even though I don't know much about it, that I can understand them. If they can't answer me in a way that I can understand it, I start realizing they really don't know what they're talking about. Not only do I not know what they're talking about, they don't know what they're talking about either. And I trust the truth, so I'm going to ask more questions. But in this case, the point I'm trying to get to is I chose to trust this guy, and now I'm going to have to make another decision to trust him. There's going to be an upfront fee to get started with him. Today, let's follow up on this, and in a few podcasts, see what happens. Really, I think it'd be a good idea. Right now, I think maybe we might have finally found somebody that actually cares, actually knows what they're doing. Actually, it might be a huge blessing for us. So but here's the deal. I can't ask him to take all the risk here. So I have to choose to trust him, which means we're going to have to put some money up front. We're going to have to do some other things. And I'm making the decision now based on what I know. And I know I may be wrong. And if I'm wrong, but he did all that he could, didn't mean he wasn't trustworthy. He did the best he could. Maybe some other reason. I need to find out why. I don't just need to assume that he's not trustworthy. But if I'm right, I give him a chance to actually help us improve our business. But the Kenny in here, I can't even tell you how hard it was to even call another one of these people, or companies, because I've worked with so many that broke my trust, if you would, right? But it may be that some of them were actually very trustworthy and worked great for other companies. I don't know. So in relationships, in business, in everything we do, I think we have to make a choice to trust. And just know that we may get hurt. But if we get hurt, it's not the trust that's hurting us. If you believe that your trust is getting you hurt, maybe your trust is a easy way to let you off the hook. That you're just saying, I'm just going to trust them, so I don't have to deal with loving them and following up and trying to do what's best for them and asking them, why, what that was, if funny things are going on and you're not asking what's going on, don't use trust as your excuse for not digging a little deeper, because if you care about something, you don't want funny stuff going on in their life. You don't want. Is that helping? Or
it is. What stands out to me is
jumbled
you
mess.
Talked about, I think it can be a little difficult to understand, but I think what stands out for me is that you mentioned that there's a point that you may trust the truth over the person. Did you say that?
Well, the truth is best for everyone. So if the person is not speaking truth to you and you know it, is it trusting to just say, okay, I'll take that when I know it's not true? I don't think so.
So then we could go back to the last podcast to say you were protecting them from themselves.
Okay, so if what you're telling me is not true and I know it's not true, or I strongly believe that it's not true, but my escape is, you know what, I'm just going to trust you and see what happens. I'm letting myself off the hook, and I'm putting you on it. If I really love you, then I would just ask, okay, I'm sorry, I don't understand. You said you were there, but you were actually here. You're saying you can do all of these things in the marketing or whatever, but if you didn't do them, what do? Do you give a portion of the money back? How do you operate? Oh no, so if I care about other people, there's nothing wrong with asking and digging deeper. And if I love you, I don't want you being unloving. I don't want you deceiving people. I don't want you misleading people, any of that. So I'm protecting you from you if I believe that you're being what I would call not trustworthy, right? But no one's really trustworthy. We all mess up and we all do different things. And if we have what we call trustworthy, then we have an unknown set of parameters that we consider trustworthy that the person that we're putting that on probably doesn't even know what they are. And And so it may be that we consider someone untrustworthy because they didn't perform or they didn't do what we hoped that they would do. But in reality, they may have done everything they possibly could. And it was not a trust problem at all. But if we think that you didn't do it, you're not trustworthy, then we quit trusting everyone. And then we wreck our own life. But maybe I could sum it up like this, Reggie. Find someone who doesn't trust anyone. And let me know what kind of relationships they have and how much love's in their life. Love requires trust. And I know it can be really hard. And I probably made a mess of it, but I choose to trust. And I'm a very suspicious person, by the way. Like, I'm by nature, anytime I'm communicating with people, I hear what they say, but I'm not listening to what they say. I'm trying to listen to why they're saying it. So I'm listening to their words, but I really want to know why they're saying what they're saying, because I want to understand what's really going on here. And I understand that words are a projection of an image that they want me to see. And maybe they're trying not to hurt my feelings and all these, but I'm not worried about my feelings. I'm not worried about, I want to know, I want to quickly as I can get to the why. So I'm always suspicious of what everyone says, but I choose to make a choice to trust. And then just like in this marketing company's case, we're going to set out sail together. But I'm not going to put my blindfold on. That's not trust. Like when we go selling together, if I get in a relationship with someone and we're going to love each other, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to choose to trust you. Or I shouldn't get in the relationship. If I'm not going to choose to trust you, I should not get in the relationship, because I'm going to sabotage the relationship. If I'm going to choose to try again, I have to choose to trust you. I need to know up front. Right now, I have to settle this within myself. I may choose to trust you and you may deceive me again. But I'm making the decision now that it's a risk worth taking. And I'm going to take it. And if I do that, that's the best I can possibly do compared to, let's try again, but I'm not going to trust. So now I become this problem that sabotages the relationship. And I know that up front, and I know I may get hurt. But listen, if I get hurt for trusting you, and I didn't put my blindfold on and just pretend like I wasn't seeing it all when it was coming, that's foolish. I shouldn't have any shame in that. There's no shame in that. It's like, I did the best I could. I loved, and they're not willing to love. What else can I do? But when I don't trust, I saddle myself up with the whole, I become part of the problem. And I got to deal and I got to live with that. So I know that's a hard one, but love, trust.
It's good. It's good. Well, it brings us to the end of another podcast. Until next time, trust God's word no matter what.
Yeah, trust God's word no matter what, and keep your eyes on the horizon.
Thanks for listening to the Right Fight podcast. Make sure to check out Kenny's book, The Right Fight, for more on how to live a loving life. It's available on their website, shieldsofstrength.com, Audible, and all digital platforms. If you have any questions for the podcast, you can email support@shieldsofstrength.com and put podcast as the subject. And make sure to follow Kenny on Instagram and TikTok @JohnKennedyVaughn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.